Good morning. My name is Jess Stout, and I'd like to welcome you to this online North Chapel service on this 27th day of December. It's good to even just imagine seeing you all. I hope that however different your holidays may have been this year, that they offered some nurturance and peace, perhaps in new and unexpected ways. And now we slide ever so quickly towards the new year, which represents a turning of a page that may have heightened anticipation for many of us. It's a time of hope, for sure, mingled with some continued vulnerability and uncertainty. It's a time of lengthening days, coupled with continued warnings that some of our darker days may still be ahead of us in terms of the pandemic. So many opposites and complexities to hold, for sure. And perhaps because of that, no more fitting a time to pause and reflect together, even virtually. So I'm glad you're here. And today we are lucky and excited to welcome a guest minister, Reverend Neil Anderson. Reverend Anderson comes to us from Michigan. He is the senior minister at the UU Church of Greater Lansing and connects to us through our own minister, Leon Dunkley, whom he met at seminary. So beyond the simple feeling that any friend of Leon's is a friend of ours, it was also a delight to hear Leon speak with such affection about Neil and in particular the gratitude he has for the honesty and closeness of their friendship. It was very heartening, and we're excited to meet you. I personally have a soft spot for Michigan as well, having spent 3 wonderful, memorable years there before moving to Vermont. It's the place where my firstborn daughter, Jane, was born, so a special place for sure for our family. Today's reflection is entitled, Got Transformation? How do we navigate the seemingly constant call for our personal growth and transformation with the knowing and affirmation that we have worth and dignity just the way we are? Sounds like an exploration of opposites after my own heart. In honor of the theme this month, Focus on the Light, I would just like to read a brief passage from a book that I'm reading. Perhaps you've heard of it, called Wintering by Catherine May. The starkness of winter can reveal colors we would otherwise miss. I once watched a fox cross a frosty field, her coat shining against the gloom. Walking in the bare winter woodland, I am surrounded by astonishing foxy reds, the deep burnish of bracken, its dry fronds twisted to lacework, the deep crimson leaves left on brambles, the last remaining berries on honeysuckle, and orangey clusters of rose hips. The iconic holly, its boughs so thoroughly rated each Christmas. There is the bright yellow of gorse on heathland, glowing on until spring comes, as well as the stately evergreens and the tangle of green leaves that remain unnoticed on the ground. Life goes on abundantly in winter. Changes made here will usher us into future glories. And with that, I invite you all to sing along to Auld Lang Syne. And from the privacy of home, you can just really belt it out, I think. So don't hold back. No need to be on pitch. All the best in the days ahead.
Hello, my name is Laura Foley, and I'm here in the snow in Pomfret, Vermont. And I wanted to read you a poem today, which is, here we are at the end of the year, beginning of a new year, and thinking about how our mind can change the reality around us, and how important it is to be aware of our own minds. So this is a poem, it's really a story poem about going for a walk and losing one of the dogs, losing Chloe, and what is it that changed in me before she returned. So it's called Conjuration, as in to conjure, conjuration. Wearing deep-cleated snowshoes, I climbed the hill behind our house, kept company by my loyal canines. We admire the summit view, familiar peaks made new by clouds of fresh snow. Then begin the long descent, not steeply down, but through the neighbors' welcoming fields, past shadowed pines, leafless maples, oaks that hold their leaves all season. Alice waits for me, but Chloe runs off, returns when called, and then doesn't. Alice and I trudge for miles as I call through empty fields and see no deer, no dog, not even a squirrel for comfort as the blizzard wind begins. I nearly lose myself on a steep cliff, slipping down through icy woods, cleats clattering like a trolley off its rails. At the bottom, still far from home, I brush myself off, hearing the storm's discord within, my angry monologue at the dog, then a purer note directing me. Dear spirit, I plead, gesturing up through empty trees, may she come safely home. I conjure an image of her thick, healthy body, loving face, and then at the next turn, she bounds round the corner toward me. Chloe, come on. Chloe, come on.
It is so good to be joining you all this morning. The last time that I was at North Chapel visiting Woodstock, Vermont was over 2 years ago. In fact, it was a day before my birthday. I recall on May 6, 2018, that you installed as your minister one of my beloveds, Reverend Leon Dunkley. It's such a joy that he has invited me to join with you all this morning to share a sermon. My name is Reverend Neil Anderson. I use the pronouns he, him, and his, and currently I serve the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greater Lansing as their senior minister. I have fond memories of being in Woodstock, Vermont, particularly that of my visit to the Billings farm. I still remember the rows of Jersey cows waiting their afternoon milking. There is something so gentle about those cows and their eyes. Those loving eyes are just so beautiful in so many ways. They're almost inviting as they look out of their stall at you with those eyes. Some years ago, I was a teacher in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, at a school that we called the Saskatoon Open School. It was a classroom that had grades 1 through 8 all in the same room, kind of like the old country schoolhouse. And one of the things that I asked the students to do was to find something that they had great interest in and create a project to share with the rest of the class. We called it an independent study project. And I remember Amanda, who was a second grader, the day that she was to present her project, getting inside of a sleeping bag that she had brought to school, and then with the grace of a dancer emerging out of that sleeping bag to reveal the butterfly that she was. An incredible way of showing this scientific understanding of the caterpillar to chrysalis to butterfly transformation. Yes, today I'm thinking about this idea of transformation. I think in some ways much transformation happened for me during those days that Reverend Leon and I attended Star King School for the Ministry together in the mid-2000s. I suppose in some ways I came to seminary as a caterpillar, fluffy and friendly, and had some time in the chrysalis while there, and I suppose found some wings for which to soar in this ministry. Along the way, I've learned that ministry means at times being a prophetic witness and engaging in the work of justice. It can mean accompanying and witnessing people through that change and transformation that can happen. It means having the honor and privilege and blessing of being present to our whole lives, joys and sorrows and everything in between. Ministry can mean providing care of the soul, educating for wholeness and liberation. I have come to deeply understand that the work of ministry can only be done within the context of the religious community. For it is the religious community that holds the minister and their ministries. It is ultimately the religious community, like you gathered at North Chapel, that incubates change and transformation, that holds us each through what our reading told us can be the pain that transformation can bring up. You know, for me, the essence, the central theme, the foundation to this religion that I call Unitarian Universalism is our call to ever becoming. You see, for me, transformation is a verb. It's an action. It is something that we do. I invite you to notice that my sense of the core of this religion is an action. So let us not view religion as a noun, as an object to be defined or enshrined as something. Let religion be that which we do, an action, a way of living, something that has movement and motion. Canadian academic Ralph Heintzman's book, Rediscovering Reverence, suggests, to which I agree, that religion is neither an escape from life nor an abstract framework of beliefs that is arbitrarily imposed upon it. It's a way of living, something you do, and to a degree can't help doing. Something that emerges from humankind's deepest and most authentic experience of life itself. He continues, religious practice is a human response to the profound mysteries that surround and inhabit human life. The mysteries of life and death, and suffering and evil, and meaning, and above all, existence itself. Religious life embraces and explores the mysteries of human life, drawing on them as from a deep well to illuminate and ennoble life, and to provide the foundation from which we can do our best work. There is a sense of peacefulness and well-being to be gained. There's a sense of trust and hope that comes from being in religious community together. And yet it comes with a price. The spiritual journey is not an easy one. It is not one for the faint of heart. It is one that comes with a cost. As Heintzman writes, the price is in your own actions, the transformation of your own will, the turning of your own heart. Religion points beyond what we might know into the mystery of what might be a constant reminder that we are always becoming. I'm suggesting to you this morning that religion is an action. So what might the action of religion look like? I suggest that a part of the action is the practice of reverence. To paraphrase what Ralph Heintzman writes, reverence conveys a human attitude of respect and deference for something larger or higher in priority than our own individual selves, something that commands our admiration and loyalty and may imply obligations or duties on our part. Reverence is an acknowledgement of superior worth, our relationship with it, and our potential obligations toward it. Reverence results from humility, as the Jewish text puts it. Respect and deference arises in us from amazing people or their amazing ideas. When we encounter someone who transcends our normal life, someone who personifies the qualities of excellence, incarnates beauty, or possesses the kind of power which captures our respect and admiration, we can surrender ourselves. This sense of respect and deference can motivate us to act, to devote ourselves to something, to stand up for something, to take a stand against something, or even at times to simply just go on living. One of the acknowledged sources of our Unitarian Universalist faith, the words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love, calls us to search for those that transcend our normal life. I see this call to seek the words and deeds of everyday prophets as one origin of reverence. The reverence rooted in respect and deference for something beyond our own individual selves. Another source for respect and deference arises in us from our experience of the natural world, within the natural world, from ever becoming conscious and aware that there is something larger and greater than ourselves. Our UU sources remind us that earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. These acts of reverence acknowledge superior worth, higher good. One locale for practicing or engaging in acts of reverence is what we do together this morning, our worship life together. For worship means the assigning or acknowledging of worth. Worship, to shape what is of worth. Worship at its best allows us to explore and express our deepest understandings or sense of reverence by giving energy or focus to them. Worship can create or make available to us reverent feelings and states of mind, which in turn can empower us for reverent and transforming action in the world and in ourselves. Reverend Erica Hewitt reminds us that every element of worship serves to bind us in a relationship that is alive, changing, and never fixed. She also lifts up that we will not experience the transformative power of worship if we treat it as a consumer or attend casually. Worship is an act of generosity and hospitality, not an experience of individualist consumer culture. Even when our own needs or preferences aren't getting met, you can rejoice that your neighbor's need is getting met. May we bring ourselves to worship week after week after week after week, whether that is joining together around our screens or one of these days returning to our beloved spaces, our beloved sanctuaries. Let us come together not because you might get something out of it, but because your presence might matter to someone else. Because only gathering can we create that something larger that has the capacity to transform us. The goal of living a religious life, of engaging in the practice of reverence, should be to experience the holy or the sacred. As Heinzmann says, the holy or the sacred are what reverence, in its deepest spiritual form, seeks to encounter. They are the names we give to what we most want to be reverent about. They are reverence in its deepest form of expression. They are therefore recognizable by states of feeling with the overtones of awe, fear, mystery, joy, and power. Non-religious spiritualities often miss the essence of spirituality which is spiritual habits, spiritual exercise, spiritual discipline, spiritual behavior, and action in the world. In fact, that's why people prefer the non-religious kind of spirituality, because they're easier. They make fewer real demands. They don't make you change your routines or your habits or yourself or your world. They don't require turning of the heart, the inner transformation that Thomas Aquinas calls faith. Religious life may be hard, too demanding, mentally and otherwise. It simply could be too inconvenient, academic Ralph Heinzmann suggests. And yet it is because it challenges you to change your routines, your habits, yourself, and the world. It is because it is hard, demanding, and inconvenient that religion should and will lead to transformation. Living a religious life is a full-time commitment. I can remember when I was attending seminary during my internship, and when I began my first ministry in Reno, Nevada, I had feelings of guilt and feelings that I was less than the ideal minister because I had yet to figure out what it was that my daily spiritual practice would be. I knew that I was supposed to be doing something, but I just wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't know what that might be. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm a bad minister. I haven't figured out my daily spiritual practice. I have come to realize that spiritual practice or spiritual disciplines should be, in essence, all that we do. Rather than telling myself that this here is a spiritual moment and this here is a secular moment, I want to rather live a holy life which challenges me to practice reverence at every moment, to intentionally find that which captures my admiration and loyalty. To ask myself what obligations or duties these loyalties demand of me. To acknowledge superior worth, my relationship with it, and my potential obligation toward it. This, I hope, can and will lead to transformation, as the aim of religion is transformation. Transformation should be where this leads. All of our ministries should be leading to transformation, personal transformation, congregational transformation, and the transformation of the worlds in which we inhabit. I must warn you, though, that transformation will be a challenge to our sense of ourselves, our comfort, and the privileges that we each take for granted. Whatever those comforts and privileges might be for you, transformation will require you to examine them, confront them, and ask what it might mean to lose them. For me, that means examining my own male, cisgender privilege, middle class privilege, and yes, my white privilege, to name a few. Transformation, when truly engaged in, can be anxiety-provoking. It can include suffering and loss. It can mean letting go of identities and understandings that at present give meaning to our lives. It may mean letting go of our psychological and spiritual safety nets, those identities, that sense of who we are that gives us meaning and purpose and comfort. And pursuing transformative spiritual practice will revolutionize our lives and redefine our place in the world. It is the experience of love, companionship, and witness during these ongoing encounters with anxiety, suffering, and loss that makes the religious community so precious to me. Yes, it is the religious community that allows me to answer this call to transformation. Because we hear can challenge each other and hold each other accountable, and we can simply hold one another. Our ministry is also one of comfort, care, joy, and love. For the road may be muddy and rough, but we will get there. As we gather this morning, I know that we continue to be deeply concerned about the assaults on the worth and dignity of every person. We have witnessed to the banning of transgender people from serving honorably in our military. We have witnessed the caging of children at our borders and the inability to bring those children and their parents back together. We continue to witness to the rise of hate groups with imagery and action that hearken to times some of us imagined were long in the past. We witness to the unnatural disasters befalling entire continents as a result of global climate change. May we be up for this challenge, the challenge of living lives of reverence and transformation. May we live in the anxiety and fear and still, through acts of reverence, live a religious life. That means each step we take is toward the mystery of who we are becoming, what the world is becoming. I imagine that the caterpillar has no idea that they will become a butterfly. We must learn to live in the mystery of our own becoming, the mystery of our communities and our earth's becoming. May we transform into wholeness and into the larger life that is possible. May we allow for a true and radical transformation of ourselves and our world as we know it, knowing that the arc of the universe is long and it does bend towards justice and transformation. May it be so. Blessed be, and Amen.